Everything exists within a spectrum. We see what we consider to be light as being at its root white, and what we consider to be darkness to be black. But you see, these are just two opposite sides of a spectrum, black being one side, or the absence of light, and white being the opposite, or the complete presence of light, or the filledness of dark with energy. We can say this same thing with the male and female forms. We have two opposites, but yet complementary forms. This also happens when we see something like a wolf and a rabbit. They have opposite but complementary forms. The rabbit would probably go into a space of becoming a pest without the wolf there to naturally garner its numbers, and the wolf, of course, would go hungry without the rabbit to eat. These two forces, these two energies, are completely necessary to each other. They cannot exist without the other in harmony. Same as male and female. Male and female without the other would be missing something. There would be half not present. Same as darkness and light. You'd have no experience of light without the opposite force, which we call darkness. But all of humanity, as I've noticed, is somewhere in a spectrum of everything in life is seeking to assist me, or everything in life is seeking to harm me. See, those that believe that everything in life is seeking to harm them have a very tough time of life. They find things where people are attacking them when no one is even thinking about them. No one's even trying to cause them stress or duress, but they find these beings, these other humans that they're interacting with, to be causing them stress and harm, even when those people are doing nothing more than trying to help them. The opposite extreme of that is those that believe that everything is trying to help them. Now, I can't say for certain that that is the case. I don't know that everything in this universe that exists is trying to help you. The balance point in between those is, well, this is a new situation. Every moment is a new situation. This person that interacted with yesterday, that seemed to be doing something to help me yesterday, is now doing something that seems to be trying to harm me today. Well, it's a very uncomfortable situation to be in, to constantly have to keep awareness, constantly have to judge and gauge where things are at the moment, and assert our own personal will in a situation, and be able to communicate well enough to say, this doesn't feel right to me in this moment. Is this what you're meaning? See, communication is the key. Whether someone or something is there to help us or harm us is kind of within our power to choose to see. We get to decide how to interpret what that individual or that being which we're interacting with is, what their motives are. Of course, if someone's got the motive all of the time of bringing harm to you, well, I would say stay as far away from them as possible. Makes sense, doesn't it? Why put yourself in a dangerous situation when you don't need to? But then again, are we only perceiving that one is trying to cause us harm and that's their motive, and we're interpreting their actions and words in a way because we believe that they're trying to cause us harm? We can see this with people who get aggressive a lot and violent a lot. They are afraid. They are afraid for their own well-being. And so they act out violently, regularly, to try to protect themselves and push away those that they feel are trying to cause them harm. And we also have emotional violence when we get into lots of arguments and fights verbally with others. If we're having this happen regularly, well, maybe it's simply that we have this idea that others are trying to harm us. But if we switch this for a moment and we think, okay, I've been operating under this idea that others are trying to harm me, and passing everything, because everything that comes into us, we pass through the filter of our previous experience. So we have something happen when we're 5 years old where something hurt us, either emotionally or physically. The natural response to that as a human being is to go, okay, this hurt, I don't want to experience this again. These were the precursors, the things that happened leading up to that event, so I'm going to keep my eye open for these things happening again so that I could prevent that feeling that I had or that injury that I sustained in that moment from ever happening again. But this is kind of a catch-22, a very negative cycle, because all of a sudden our attention, our focus is all upon watching out for those things coming forth which led us to previous pain. And now we start seeing them everywhere because now we're watching for them. And it's really simple to prove this fact. If you start thinking of something simple like a chicken or a butterfly or a rainbow, and you focus on it for long enough, you notice you'll start seeing chicken stickers popping up, or cream of chicken soup at the store. You'll notice the word chicken, the idea of chicken popping up all around you all the time just by focusing on it for a little while. So we start focusing on these things that we're watching out for to ensure we can prevent future pain, because that's all we're trying to do. Is we remember that we had this thing that happened in the past that didn't feel good, and so now we're projecting forward into the future, watching what's happening now to see what's coming next. And so we're constantly bouncing back and forth between future and past, future and past, future and past, watching everything happening now through the filters that we've created around ourselves to protect ourselves. And now we're focusing on those things that we think are leading up to us being hurt again. And just like the chicken soup, guess what? We're going to see more and more and more and more and more and more of them until it happens again. Because that's where we've put all of our awareness, on preventing something that may never happen again, simply because it happened once. Now I know this is a difficult topic, because for many of us, this was the way our parents were, this is the way their parents were, this is the way families have been for generations and generations. And it's very difficult to imagine a different way of being when we've only known one way. So the question truly comes, how does one move from believing everything's out to get them, or that the world is against them, to the space of understanding that there's nothing here to harm us. There's only our own lack of awareness, which will sometimes lead us into situations which cause us harm. But if we had been more aware, we would have known within ourselves the right choices to make, leading to that situation, which would have diverted us around that situation entirely. So what I guess I'm really talking about here is each one of us moving into our space of knowing, our space of feeling, connecting with our mind, connecting with our bodies, using our emotions, using all of these things together, using our visual inputs from our eyes, using what we're hearing from the environment, using what the wind is blowing past us is feeling like, using what we're tasting, what we're smelling, putting all of those things together so that we can live a full, happy, thriving life. And I'm not saying there's not going to be dramas and stresses and troubles along the way. There's a great saying that no adventure is possible without the possible certainty of death, or the certain possibility of death. And that's it. Like, life is an adventure. Life is amazing. We can live this wonderful adventure, but the possibility of it going wrong is what makes it so great. If everything we always did turned out wonderfully and perfect, well, that sounds maybe a bit boring. It seems like the process, the journey to achieving something, is what makes the experience of the achievement of it so wonderful. And I guess that's where the movement happens from. I feel everyone and everything is out to get me, to I'm working along with everyone and everything to provide or produce the most wonderful output, the most wonderful achievement that I can't even imagine. You see, we don't need to be able to imagine the end point. All we need to be able to do is to imagine that the end point exists and that we can somehow move to it. It's like taking a walk. If you think about how far it is to get there, and it's going to take you 6 hours to walk there, and this could happen on the way, and this could happen on the way, and this could happen on the way, then you probably won't ever even take a first step. It's the taking of the first step leads to the second step, leads to the third step, and you keep taking steps, and guess what? You're there. And it's pretty easy to imagine the first step along that path, because you don't really need to know which direction to even move. You can just take a step in any direction, and then, does that feel right? Not sure. Okay, take another step in the same direction. Fine, don't worry about it. Does it still feel right? If it doesn't, then stop and go in a different direction. It's not rocket science by any stretch of the imagination. It's the simplest thing ever. It always has been. This is why it's so difficult for us to deconstruct everything going on in our logical, rational minds, recognize what's holding us back from thriving and being happy and full of life and full of joy and full with the essence of everything that we are. See, we can't really... I'm going to get into this a little bit now. Religions would like us to believe that there is some intrinsic division between ourselves and this thing which we call God. Now, as far as I can understand and gather from what I've seen in life and this world around me, this idea of God, which I don't even like to use the word any longer, is the very energy which is responsible for our awareness. The idea of me sitting here thinking, oh, I am. I can see the sky, I can see the trees, I can see the computer sitting in front of me. I can, to some extent, feel all of these things, as much as I'll allow myself to do. And that energy, which presents itself as our awareness, is the very same energy which presents itself in every single one of our cells, every single tree, every single life form that we know, every single inanimate form that we know. So basically, if God, or this energy that permeates all things, was not present in your life without a mediator, without someone standing between you and it, you would not exist. And I can say quite certainly, if you're listening to this, you exist. For if you did not exist, you would have no awareness of the fact you are watching this. And so if we pull this idea out of there's needing to be some sort of mediator between you and this higher creative power, this unlimited, infinite creative power, which may or may not be conscious of itself. I don't know. How could I possibly say? How could I possibly decide for anyone else what to make of this infinite thing. That's why I don't even like to call it a name anymore, because it, words do not express properly, don't even begin to express properly what this is that we're interacting with to experience every single day of what we call life. So this idea that there's some mediation required, that there's something wrong with us that requires there to be someone between us and this creative force, is by its very nature flawed. It's really obvious to me. I hope it's obvious to you as well. I hope, if nothing else, it will become obvious to you in a short period of time. And so all of a sudden, we move from this paradigm of there's something wrong with me, and the world, the people around me are trying to harm me, or even I'm afraid of bears or snakes or spiders. Well, why are we afraid of them? Only because we think they're trying to harm us, because they've got it out for us. They don't. Yes, they'll bite us if we step on them. Wouldn't you bite something that stepped on you? I would. I'm going to tell them there. Like, yeah. Please stop stepping on me, man. It hurts. So you see, it's not that the spiders are coming into our houses to seek us out and try to bite us. They're just moving through their territory. They're just moving around, checking out what is, because that's what life does. So then all of a sudden we go from this paradigm of everything's out trying to get me, everything's trying to hurt me, I've got to be overly aware and prevent things that are trying to hurt me from getting to me, to there's an amazing creative force behind everything that lives and that's alive, and that we don't even consider as being alive. My roof of my car park space out there is, I think it's steel, and in my understanding that is equally alive, that is equally aware. Now it's not like a human being per se, in that it can move around and eat food and drink wine and do all of those things, maybe not within its experience spectrum, but it can sit out there on the roof of my car park and absorb the sun and feel the wind blowing over it. So it's a completely different sort of experience. I mean, like, you want to check it out, just imagine what it'd be like to just be a roof soaking in the sun and feeling the wind passing over it on a beautiful day. Or imagine what it would be like to be a tree leaf, or imagine what it would be like to look through the eyes of a dog or a cat and see what they see when they're walking around. Imagination's a powerful, powerful tool. And so all of a sudden we go into this new paradigm of, here I am in this environment, and I'm part of this amazing infinite creative force that shows itself to me as trees and all the insects and all the animals and as water and as the earth itself and as the sun and as the clouds, and it's beautiful, isn't it? It's amazing. Like, seriously. I don't know how I missed it for so long. I'm getting a little teary-eyed there. But the missing of it was what brought me back to it. And that's what makes it so sweet now. Because I know what it's like to be without wonder in life. I know what it's like to feel like everyone's out to get you and everything's always going wrong and life just is miserable. I know exactly how that feels. I've been there. I've ended up in hospital because of it. But as I look back now, in the first week that I was in there, oh man, I thought of every single way I could to escape. I planned out my escape routes to Mexico because I knew that if I left the place, they'd be calling the police on me. And I was all ready, and the last thing I wanted to do was be in there. But I stuck it out. I waited. And at the end of the week, they said, "We think you're ready to go home. But are you ready to go home?" And at that moment, I realized I wasn't ready. I realized the blessing that I had been given of some space and time away from the world around me to gather myself and focus a bit more. And I got out and I had a lot of tough times. I got divorced. I lost all of my friends, all the people I cared about, to religion pretty much. Because this religion that I was part of says that if someone chooses to not follow that religion any longer, that they should be cast out for fear of that one leading the rest of those in that religion away from the truth. It's a really sad state, in my opinion, my humble opinion. I feel that those who lack the truth, those who do not have the truth, are those who would be afraid of being led away from the truth. For once you know the truth, you cannot be led away from it. Everything will only ever lead you closer to it. Once you fully grasp the truth, as it said, will set you free. And it does. The truth is the freedom. The truth is the thing that allows us to truly enjoy this one moment as it is right now, knowing that it's going to be over before we blink our eyes. And that's beautiful and wonderful, because that's that moment that we have with it that makes it so wonderful. See, if we love coffee and we drink coffee 27 times a day, pretty soon what we were getting from the coffee goes away. What we loved about the coffee is not the same anymore because we've overdone it. We've been greedy. And I can't say that 27 cups of coffee isn't the right amount for some people every day. You know, that's up to each one of us to feel out and decide for ourselves. This is why religions don't work. Religions put spirituality into a policy format. But guess what? I'm not a policy. You're not a policy either. You're a living, breathing, thinking, creating being. And your way, the way that is right for you, 27 cups of coffee or 1 cup of coffee or no cups of coffee, is different for you than from everyone else. And spirituality is no different. Should you pray 1 time a day or 5 times a day facing east, or 13 times a day facing west, or 7 times a day? I don't know. It's not up to me to choose for you. That's your decision to make. But as long as we keep putting someone else in between us and that infinite creative force that we're all part of, we can never find out. We can never find out until we make our relationship with that creative force our own responsibility and no one else's. Only when we stop looking to others to lead us, to show us the truth, and start finding the truth for ourselves, will things change for any of us. See, we're all connected. We're all like little water droplets on a spider web. And in me is the reflection of you, and in you is a reflection of me and everyone else. We're all reflecting each other. And John Lennon sang that awesome song, Imagine. And I think of that song and I think to myself, yeah, it's not hard to imagine that place. But what I do know and what I do feel really strongly is that I can hold that vision myself as much as I want to. And yeah, that'll make my world beautiful and bright and happy. And it is. But I can also sense your reflection within me. And if your reflection isn't that bright and beautiful and happy as well, well then I'm feeling what you're feeling too. And yeah, I can kind of put up a little wall between it and separate it out and say, No, I don't want to feel that now. But what I'd rather do is just feel it with you as much as I need to, for you to be able to deal with it. For you to be able to come to the space of peace with what you're feeling that I have with what you're feeling, and that what I have with what I've felt in the past. Because then when we're all at, I don't like that word anymore, when we're all in harmony with ourselves, then we can all be in harmony with each other. As simple as it is. When I'm vibrating harmony within myself, and you're vibrating harmony within yourself, and our harmonies are working with each other, well, then it's much better for both of us. And when two of us are working in harmony, then that makes it really easy for the third person to jump into harmony. And three makes the fifth and the eighth much easier to jump into harmony. So find that harmony within yourself. It's not something you're going to find in any religion or any book or any YouTube video. Your harmony and your inner space of peace and balance and understanding that life is this great cooperative expression of you with the infinite creative force that exists, then all of a sudden you can start getting in harmony with it. Get in harmony with the wind and the nature and the weather, and see that the stormy, rainy day is just as beautiful as the sunny, clear day. Why wouldn't it be? Unless we're making it less than. We're making another more than. We're judging. This is one of those steps along the way from feeling everything is against you to everything is wonderful. Is realizing the ways that we make one thing less than another. We make darkness bad and light good, or light good and darkness bad, or women bad and men good, or men bad and women good. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Seriously. Drop all of that shit out. We don't need it anymore. There's no good and bad. Shit happens. Good stuff happens. It does. There's life. That's the way it goes. I lost my daughter before she was born. It hurts. It hurts. And it's always gonna hurt. And that's beautiful. I can't imagine I have a new one on the way. And the reason I feel so happy to have this little one coming now is because I know the depth of loss of the first one that didn't make it through. So is it bad that I lost her? No. It's a blessing. It's a fucking blessing. Because I wouldn't be able to experience the coming of this little one now as I am if I hadn't gone through that experience as it was. Everything is leading us to somewhere. We're all cooperating, we're all working together, unknowns to us most of the time, because we're too busy trying to survive still, that we don't ever have the time to make that relationship with that creative force that would take us from surviving to thriving. So for those of you who are touched by this, those of you who feel this within you, know that the path of life is leading you from wherever you've been through hell and back into touch with that creative force so that you can bring forth what you are and the gifts you've brought to this place to everyone. Not to help them for what it will get you. Not to help somebody because they might have what you need. to help them for the joy of helping them. To create a world which you could be happy to see your children live in. And if your world is not a world you'd be happy to see your children living in, then you got some work to do. And the number one thing to do is to come to peace with everything that's happened in your past. Because as soon as we drop that stuff, as soon as we say, okay, this that happened to me then was not bad. It was just a thing that fucking happened. And it's okay. And these things happened afterwards, and they wouldn't have been the same without that. They're all part of the tapestry of life. They're all part of my painting of life. And without any of them, my painting of life would not be complete. And we drop all those things and the judgment we've held about them being bad or good, and we just look at them whole as the tapestry of life we've seen, then all of a sudden, we're not looking anymore for all those things that are coming to get us. We're just being with the moment as it is. And not saying this is good or bad, just feeling what it is we're feeling. And crying if it feels like crying, and laughing as much as we can the rest of the time. Because why not? I mean, seriously. Why not laugh as much as we possibly can? And go with the flow, go with the vibration, go with the ride. Life's a roller coaster, right? You get on the roller coaster, and sometimes it scares the shit out of you because it's so fast and so steep downwards, and you're screaming your lungs out in fear. And it's like, you get off the ride, and you're like, yes, I'm going to go do it again. So, what if that's exactly what happened? What if we died, I don't know, just before entering this life, and it was like getting off the roller coaster at Six Flags or wherever we've been, and we were like, yes, let's do it again. Maybe that's how you got here to where you are right now. I don't know. I know how I got here to where I am right now. It feels great to be here. And I know it can feel great for all of you to be here too. And I'm going to keep imagining that day till it happens. Until then, see ya.